Ex-wife Pilar Sanders gives side eye as Coach Prime joins Shiloh Sanders' career-defining celebration. The Sanders family's last few days have been quite unexpected and full of ups and downs. No one had expected Shadur to fall to the fifth round of the 2025 draft, and his brother Shilo won't even get drafted in the seventh round. This was too much to chew for the Sanders family, especially the Buffs' head coach, Deion Sanders. Now, it looks like the Sanders siblings have found the actual reason for their falling draft stock, and they might even be making amends after that. Well, even after Shadur Sanders got drafted, the speculations about Deion Sanders' involvement weren't dying down. From the start of the 2025 offseason, the siblings' father has been at the forefront of running a PR campaign, giving interviews to increase hype, and even meeting with GMs to get a feel for their intentions. Even after Shadur Sanders got drafted to the Cleveland Browns at the 144th pick, the speculation of Deion Sanders' involvement didn't die down. Many prominent ex-accounts pointed to a monotonous Browns camp, that drafting Shadur was an ownership decision and not of head coach Kevin Stefanski or GM Andrew Berry, who looked visibly unmoved. Now, in the case of Shiloh, the fortunes were even lower than he would have thought, as no team seemed interested in the safety, even though he looks like a decent backup player. Instead of relying on his father again, Shiloh decided to make a crucial decision. The former Buff safety has finally landed in Tampa Bay's camp as they sign the player as an undrafted free agent. The 25-year-old's move happened when he decided to opt for a prominent agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and poof, Shiloh was finally signed. The safety even joked about his dad in a video posted by the Football Forever IG account. "Dad was our agent, but that hasn't been working out too good. So today, I had to sign with an agent." While everyone laughed at Shiloh's quite hilarious and maybe awfully real take, Shiloh's mother, Pilar Sanders, might have read between the lines, as she wasn't seen laughing at the joke and even gave a side eye to maybe register her agreement with Shiloh's joke. It won't be a stretch either, considering both Pilar and Deion, the Buffs' head coach, have quite a turbulent history, and the disagreements go way back. Deion Sanders married Pilar in 1999 in a high-profile wedding ceremony. Both Pilar and Deion were media names at the time, with Deion being the NFL legend and Pilar being a model and an actress. The marriage initially blossomed, and they had 3 children, Shadur, Shiloh, and Shalomi. Their family life was even in the high media spotlight as they featured in Deion and Pilar's Primetime Love in 2008. Things looked smooth then, but the turbulence was just coming to eye in 2011. Deion filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The case turned ugly when an incident of assault came to light, in which it was reported that Pilar attacked Deion in front of his sons. Pilar also had her side story as she narrated that Deion started it all by choking her. The divorce turned into a full-blown media scandal. Custody battles were fought, and jail time was given. Pilar spent 7 days in 2014. Even defamation cases were filed, which Deion won in 2015. Even recently, the strife seems not ended fully, even though it has dialed down a lot. Just last year, Shalomi was transferred from CU to Alabama A&M. He even publicly called out his daughter in doing so, which was then fueled by Pilar's accusations against Deion as to how Shalomi didn't get a fair chance in the recruitment process. Shiloh's selfless acts win hearts on the internet. Amidst the media hype and speculation that surrounded Shadur Sanders, his brother Shiloh's name and draft prospects sometimes weren't highlighted at all. The safety didn't even get an NFL Combine invite, and later seemingly failed to perform at Coach Prime standards. For context, Deion Sanders had challenged the player to run a 4.4 for the 40-yard dash, but the safety could only clock 4.52 seconds on his pro day. This might have led to a drop in his stock. However, he still kept at Shadur's side selflessly. Shadur waited for almost 5 rounds for his name to be called, but it came eventually as the Browns drafted the QB, having already drafted Oregon's Dillon Gabriel earlier. So, just as the news became public and the announcement reached Shadur's family, who were following the news together, celebrations poured in. But amongst all the people, Shiloh probably was the one who seemed out of the world as he danced in joy for his younger brother. The dance went viral in a moment, with Shiloh praised for his selflessness and generosity. This was a true representation of the Sanders family, and especially Shiloh, who, despite his own struggle, kept supporting his family all the time. Kevin Stefanski and Browns front office unhappy with Jimmy Haslam's role in Shadur Sanders' draft. Report: the first time anyone from the Cleveland Browns publicly acknowledged that the 2022 Deshaun Watson trade had failed came from the top brass last month. A trade that cost them 3 first-rounders and a guaranteed $230 million. Owner Jimmy Haslam captioned it, "Their big swing and miss." Jimmy Haslam, in fact, stuck his neck out to take the blame for the Watson transaction and confirmed that he won't pressurize his decision-making tandem to force a quarterback pick. So, entering the 2025 NFL Draft, GM Andrew Berry said this about Haslam's role in the decision to draft Sanders. "Jimmy lets us do our jobs. The old sting, ever since Baker Mayfield left Huntington Bank Field, still feels fresh." 8 different quarterbacks have started for the Browns since, including 4 during the 2024 season, but they are yet to find a franchise QB. Just a month ago, Haslam did ask for patience but said he'd expect the team to compete in 2025. And as such, the Browns HC did get his man on day 3, but a 4th-round pick has sparked doubts if Stefanski really wanted Shadur in his QB room. After all, calling the Browns' pre-draft process with Shadur to be extensive would be such an understatement. A large contingent of the Browns organization, from the coaches, execs, to the ownership group, traveled to Boulder one day prior to the pro day workout just to break bread with Shadur and his teammate, Travis Hunter. Their scouting combined meeting reports on Shadur were impressive. "Shadur is a very, very impressive young man," Kevin Stefanski said. "Was raised the right way. Obviously, he's a heck of a football player." Even GM Berry, who drafted him in the 4th round as the 144th pick, admitted that Shadur's draft was mispriced, and he believes that Coach Prime's son can actually outproduce his draft slot. Yet, despite Haslam's hands-off approach, recent buzz surrounding Shadur Sanders' arrival hints at a different story behind the scenes. Pro Football Talk, for one, suggested they were feeling something other than euphoric. The reaction shot in the Browns draft room, per the host, had no less than perfunctory applause to offer once Shadur's name was called. Andrew Berry, the GM, did not look thrilled, and you can see a little bit of Jimmy Haslam. He wasn't jumping up and down. Kevin Stefanski had a little bit of a smile. The guy to the right of Stefanski seemed a little happier, but Andrew Berry didn't seem like a guy who just stumbled into a future franchise quarterback. So, Browns fans, do that split screen. Draft room, maybe not thrilled. Your new quarterback? Seems to be thrilled. Take a look at the video. NFL insider Benjamin Albright discussed the pick on his radio show, hinting that there had been internal discussions in Cleveland about draft strategy not aligning across the board, especially regarding quarterback prospects. Albright noted, "There was definitely a split in the room. Some were higher on other options, but when ownership speaks, decisions tend to follow." This fresh insight only fuels the belief that the Browns' front office might have had different plans before Sanders' selection became a reality. Are the Browns already second-guessing their Shadur Sanders gamble? The tension in the Browns' draft room didn't just seem awkward, it could hint at deeper issues. Teams usually celebrate with cheers, high fives, and obvious excitement when they select a franchise quarterback. Yet, in Cleveland, it felt more like a formality than a victory lap. GM Andrew Berry's blank expression especially stood out, suggesting that maybe Shadur Sanders wasn't the front office's first choice after all. Jimmy Haslam often involves himself heavily in decisions, sometimes pushing choices that the coaching staff or management doesn't fully support. If Haslam did indeed drive the selection of Sanders, it puts pressure on Stefanski and Berry to make a success out of a pick they may not have fully endorsed. In NFL history, when owners overrule football people, the results can be unpredictable at best. Interestingly, Shadur Sanders himself seems anything but concerned. The young quarterback celebrated the moment with pure joy, signaling that he's ready and excited for the next chapter. As Pro Football Talk pointed out, there's already a video out there of him celebrating this, and emphasized that it's very unlikely he will try to go back to college, given the financial hit compared to launching his NFL career. The report also added, "He seems to be happy going to Cleveland. He seems to be happy being drafted by the Browns," making it clear that Sanders is embracing his opportunity, even if the front office's excitement didn't match his own. Still, it's hard to ignore the early cracks showing. A quarterback's success often depends on having the full support of his organization. If Sanders has to fight not only his opponents, but skepticism from within his own building, it could make his rookie season even more challenging. The Cleveland Browns have hitched their future to Shadur Sanders, even if not everyone in the organization feels thrilled about it. For Sanders and the Browns alike, the only thing that can heal any lingering doubts now will be winning football games.